streaming. Bow, bow, bow. Let me tweet, even though it's going to be out of date. GeekNights live.
Push, push, baby.
Tumbleseed.
Push, push, baby.
They can't hear you, though.
Like in that video.
Yeah.
What video?
You know where that guy was doing a lecture about, he was like calling into the BBC, and he was a professor of like Indian studies or something, or Korean politics, and he was,
Because he was talking about the president being.
yeah, it was
Right,
about
yeah.
the Korea situation, and it was like, he was living in Korea, and so they did the thing remotely, and his kid just comes in the room like, yeah, while he's doing this serious business interview, and then the baby comes in, and then the mom runs in like, no. It was very cute.
All right, let's do this. It's Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, Tumbleseed, the sequel to Ice Cold Beer. 17. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
Okay, we're good. Rants is going just in case. I guess I got an opening bit. No, there's already people watching.
Baby. One sad person.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's not you,
That's definitely not me.
the sad person?
Someone's there. There's a way for me to see who, but I'm not going to bother. So yeah, there were no shows last week because I was in Hong Kong, but if you followed Scott on YouTube, there was a bunch of Scott stuff going on.
Was there?
You were streaming and stuff. I saw notifications, I guess.
Maybe. I think I did less than I planned to do.
Yeah, but you did some. I thought I'd do
I
some
did more than you did.
Well, I thought I'd do some podcasts while I was in Hong Kong, but I was just too busy
I also
and tired because it's 12 hours off.
I also made an appearance on ATW9K, which I thought didn't exist anymore. But no, I just stopped listening to podcasts. It totally still exists.
Yeah, the only podcast I actually listen to is Pseudopod and occasionally 538, but I don't really listen to anything else anymore.
Yeah, anyway,
I actually haven't even listened to Dave and Joel in a while.
I haven't listened to that in years.
But yeah,
Yes.
Hong Kong was fun. But also, I didn't really get to do anything cool because I was just working, and I went to 2 conventions, back-to-back days, and then I flew home.
Why were there 2 conventions at the same time?
So there are 2 finance
That's a PAX
conventions.
East Anime Boston situation.
So yeah, you know what tends to happen in finance? There'll be a big conference like in Hong Kong or Singapore or something. So clever people will that same week book another venue in the area and do their own conference and piggyback off of it.
Well, but why would people go to your thing instead of the big thing?
People don't go there for just one thing. They'll just go to both. They're only one-day things. These things are the only ones that are multi-day are like Trade Tech Paris, which I went to once. And
Oh, so the big thing is Saturday. You make your thing Sunday.
Yep, exactly.
I get you.
So the big thing was like Thursday. So Thompson did a thing on Wednesday, and I was there all week, so I had to do both.
Thompson Reuters.
Yyep.
Okay.
They ran a
Aren't they
conference
the
for.
same company.
They ran a conference for the buys. People call him Thompson or TR. Just I try to avoid using the jargon of finance on Geek Nights because I'm sure you guys really care about that stuff. But
People seem to care about shit just because they can't help themselves.
yeah,
It's like once they hear a thing exists, they need to know everything there is about
you know
it.
what part of that is? It's like you know, if you don't know anything about cars at all, but you're near a mechanic and they open the hood and start poking around, you kind of lean over. You want to see like, hey, what's that thing?
That's how you tell a good person from a bad person.
Whether or not they lean over there and look.
If they have a curious mind,
Yeah.
they have a desire for knowledge, or are they anti-intellectual? If we just got rid of all the anti-intellectual DNA, it would be a great world.
Oh, get rid of all the anti-intellectual DNA. I wonder how that could be accomplished. I wonder if there's any problem with this potential theory that you've got.
I don't know.
This
Everyone else who's tried to do this has always used some wrong factor for deciding who to get rid of, like, skin color or something, right? If I use
all right,
I could
I'm
use
following you. I'm following you down this road, but at a distance.
Right, if we could just, let Scott choose who to get rid of.
Scottocracy.
And you know what? I'm not even going to murder people. We're just going to send all the dumb people into space.
Space. What, like the B arc?
Or send all the smart people into space.
I think smart
And
people
leave
into
the dumb
space.
people here.
You know what that is? That's the plot of Gundam Seed.
Yeah. We'll have awesome robots, and they'll have really shitty ones.
Because frankly, like in that show, even though the coordinators kind of also want to genocide the humans back, it's easy to pick a side in that fight because the
Well-
humans are pretty much the worst.
Well, and the other thing is, the humans only stood a chance because they stole the Freedom Gundam. They didn't make that.
Ah.
They didn't make the. Right?
Well, they also outbred the space people because the space people stopped having babies.
They were too smart. They decided they were smart enough to not make babies.
Except no, wasn't it that they became infertile because of the genetic stuff they did, and they basically broke their they broke their genetics.
Whatever. Don't make space babies.
Yeah, or if you're gonna make space babies, expect them to replace you.
Your space babies are robots.
So in some minor news, I got a minor geek bite. I think we mentioned this, but Race for the Galaxy, which is a pretty good light tabletop game, been around for quite some time. We played the hell out of it and kind of stopped playing it just because we played it a lot. I never played it enough to get good at it, but I played it. It was a good game.
There's a PC app that was free. I don't know if it's still around, but I played that a whole bunch for like a few weeks at one time.
Yep.
And then I was like, all right, it's enough of that.
So an Android and iPhone app came out,
Yeah, official.
and not only is it official, but it is fantastic.
This is the kind of game you need an app for because it has. If you've never played it a lot, then you have problems like figuring out what the symbols mean and stuff like that. And
Now the thing is, if you know the game, like the iconography of the game is fantastic. Like it's really well designed, but the learning curve for people who are not freaks like us is shockingly steep.
right, like what the hell does that fucking symbol mean? I don't know.
Yep. And they make sense in retrospect, but it's also this game is like the poster child for the bit in our panel on writing game rules about how one of the best ways for people to learn a game is to have someone else just run the game for them and provide the bumpers, like provide the rails.
Yep.
But I think I'm assuming we reviewed Race for the Galaxy at some point on Geek Nights. I'm not going to talk about that.
Maybe.
If we didn't, that's an easy Tuesday show.
Sure.
But what I will say is that I think anyone who listens to Geek Nights should just buy this app because it is the pooping
How many
game.
dollars is it?
I don't even know. I just bought
It's not
it.
free.
It's not free.
Does it come with all the expansions you want?
It comes with the first expansion. I think the other two are not out yet.
They're gonna charge you for that shit.
I don't care. All told, it'll be less than $20 with like every expansion
I'm
ever.
pretty sure you could just buy all those for $20.
Yeah, but I cannot
Physical
play the physical ones by myself while I'm pooping in a public bathroom.
Oh, I think I can.
It's gonna be a Ukraine Seinfeld situation there.
You want to bet? If I can do that?
But the real notable thing about this is that I've played a lot of these apps of tabletop games, and a lot of them are real bad, or they're pretty good, but their UX has a lot of failings.
No, the T&E one's 90% good. The Patchwork one is way good.
Yeah, but like the Carcassonne one is
The
pretty
Carcassonne
good.
one's real good.
It's pretty good. It's got a few issues. The
It
Settlers
has
one,
issues in that it requires you to do more presses than you would like to have to press.
but
But there's a lot of shortcuts. You can skip over some presses.
what impresses me about the Race for the Galaxy UX is that this is the first big tabletop game I've tried to play on a phone since I got a super tiny phone with a tiny lower, like 720p screen.
It works on the tiny ass screen.
It works on a tiny screen so well that I was shocked.
I'd probably be just playing it on my giant iPad.
But like the things it does UX wise to deal with the fact that my screen is so small that there is literally no way to read those cards. It is just very well designed to the point that I actually want to track down who specifically did the UX and talk to them because it's impressive and I am deeply impressed by it. You should buy this. If you listen to Geek Nights, if you haven't played Race for the Galaxy, guess what? You'll have way more fun learning it playing this app than having someone like me or Scott try to teach it to you.
And trying to figure out all the symbols and the stupid cards, and then like you can't show anyone your hand, and they don't.
Yep. Also, I think now that I've played this game probably over 100 times since I got the app because I had a bunch of long flights and I play it on the subway and I play it when I poop. I can crank out almost 2 full games during one poop. It's like 1 Hiroshima Hex game's worth of this.
It's a real fast game to play.
And
Produce
I think
this card.
I've gotten to the point to where I gotta count cards, and it's pretty much random who wins.
Add more expansions.
Yeah, I've added every expansion that's currently available,
All right.
but it's super good. So you got any gaming news?
What was my gaming news?
Your gaming news was the.
All right, so check this out. So here's
I'm
the deal.
checking.
a while ago in Hearthstone, right? There's a mode standard where you can only use the newish cards, which is good because if you just start playing today and you had to get every card ever, even including the old cards, how would you do that, right?
Yep.
There'd be too many I'd be like, oh, you want to start playing Magic, huh? Well, everyone at the store's got Moxes. What you gonna do about it? Right? Oh,
that was how it was playing Magic before they started doing like draft tournaments
right, but anyway,
in the old
so
days.
they have what's called Wild, which is where you can play any card in the history of Hearthstone, and they don't even sell the old cards anymore. Like if a card's not in standard, they don't sell it anymore.
So you just gotta have them.
No, you can make it with dust.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the dust.
So you take your extra cards, you disintegrate them, and you can make old cards with them. But yeah, if you haven't, if you're new to Hearthstone, it's really hard to play Wild. But anyway, no one really played Wild or gave a crap about it. But they announced like, hey, we're gonna do a Wild tournament, and the people who are like top 64 in each region are gonna like qualify for this tournament of Wild.
All right, pretty
So-
standard, I guess.
Because Hearthstone is a big enough game to where like you can make a living playing it esports wise, people like invested a lot of fucking time to try to make sure they were in the top 64 at the end of the season in the Wild category so that they could be in this tournament that they knew no other information about whatsoever. There was no information about the tournament other than basically like a few sentences like, we're going to do a tournament, top 64 in each region.
So considering that I didn't read this article and I don't know about this, but the title is How Blizzard Screwed People for the Wild Top 64 Tournament, so I'm assuming this takes a dark
Right.
turn.
So there were some people who are in Australia playing Hearthstone in the Wild, trying to get in this tournament because they wanted to be in because they felt like that was going to be beneficial to their esport career, right? To be in this thing. So in Australia, Blizzard has regions, right? Asia, Europe, and North America.
Yep, which if you play like Overwatch, you just don't care. Like it doesn't affect you at all.
Yeah, but you usually a lot of people have accounts on each region because remember Hearthstone's free to play,
Yeah.
right? So they'll have accounts on each region, and some people like level up in each region every single month and shit like that. So these people are in Australia, and if you're in Australia, Blizzard tells you for all their games that you should be in the North America region if you're in Australia. But for this tournament, the tournament rules just came out suddenly, after the whole thing was already said and done in terms of who the top 64 were. They put out the full tournament rules, and the full tournament rules were like, oh yeah, if you're in Australia, you got to be in the Asia region to qualify. And they're like, we would have made accounts in the Asia region and done it, but we only did it in North America because that's the region we're supposed to play in.
Now,
Because
it's extra interesting because, I was just in Hong Kong. The acronym for that region is APAC,
Yep.
as in Asia Pacific. So I understand why they might have put Australia and New Zealand in North America, but that is the right answer for 50% of use cases and the wrong answer for 50% of use cases.
But anyway, the point is that, man, they really screwed those people over, even though I think it's not, they're making a bigger deal out of it than it is. It's
Well,
like,
yeah, it's a
like
free to play. It's a silly tournament in a free to play
It's a
game.
tournament for a children's card game, whatever. But this keeps happening basically in all these sort of competitive, we've talked about it in other times when it's happened, but when there's competitive structures or organizations managing competitive tournaments for video games and also tabletop games,
Yup.
and these organizations are not top tier, right? Even companies that are big, relatively big companies that have like departments that manage this shit, like Netrunner is Fantasy Flight, and like the League of Legends people, Valve screws shit up,
Yup.
right? They got like, someone used a cheat in a Counter-Strike thing. There was something wrong with the map, right?
Yeah, but when was the last time the NHL screwed something up?
Right. It's like we see this kind of stuff constantly when people have their organized play, their competitive play departments are not good enough. They just keep fucking up, and GeekNights will always call them out on it.
Yep. But just like we do on everything.
That's right.
Now, it's interesting because on one hand, you might say, like we said, well, it's Hearthstone. It's not the most important or serious game. But on the other hand, as soon as you add a tournament structure or competitive play,
With prizes,
Then-
supposedly big prizes.
yeah, even if they're small prizes, you're suddenly saying, yeah, this area of this game matters. You're basically telling everyone, play this one for real, play it seriously. So you're sort of telling all the players to like step up their game, but it's implied like there's a social contract that you also have to step up your game. No one's going to treat quick play in Overwatch seriously. If they do, they deserve what they get.
Like if you have something and the prize is like tens of thousands of dollars, at least if you have a competition and the prize for that competition is tens of thousands of dollars or more worth of stuff, that means it's worth it to someone to like dedicate their life to it, basically.
Yep.
Right? That's like a year's salary for a lot of human beings. That's worth someone quitting their job and spending all their time preparing to compete in that now, right? When you reach that level. Just thousands, not enough. But tens of thousands, now, as soon as you have a prize that is that amount, you have to be 100% perfect in your competitive fairness and everything because people are dedicating their lives to possibly trying to win this thing.
I feel like with professional sports, the specter of heavy government intervention and regulation caused them to clean up their acts and be very professional and self-regulate.
Yeah, because, I mean, even, it's like they're not government organizations, but even when it's like steroids or something right, in the 90s, like
Congress will be like, hey.
Is like, what? And there's suddenly hearings, right? So it's like, you can't fuck this shit up, guys.
Video games.
Right now, you're small enough, and the old people in Congress don't have their eye on you.
They literally don't know you exist.
Right. But you know what? In 20 years, we're going to be the kind of people our age are going to be in that Congress. Right?
Yep.
They're going to know you exist, and you're going to be the next baseball. So don't fuck up.
I mean, based on some metrics, more people watch certain esports tournaments than possibly watch the American Super Bowl.
Then watch anything?
Yeah. And, like, this industry is growing rapidly, and the professionalization around it is not growing fast enough. And this is a collision course. So
the point, it's just yet another incident and a thing that always bothers us that we point out every time. And we're going to keep pointing it out every time until it stops happening.
So the listener actually sent us 2 questions a while ago.
Don't we have a separate questions thing?
Yeah, so I'm actually restructuring that because it was a pain, and I'm going to start that up again soon. Because that's a Patreon-driven thing primarily.
People, stop giving him money. You're paying for, you're not getting what you paid for.
But I did just read another Castlevania chapter where Simon Belmont and Timothy Bradley had a shared orgasm over the killing of a ghoul.
Why would you pay for that? You want to pay for him to not do that? What's wrong with you?
So, but this was not through the Patreon. This was just a question that a listener sent that was pretty good. It was 2 questions. And it was related to our writing rules lecture.
All right.
So, what makes an easily confusing, highly debatable rule? Is it just inconsistent definitions or something else?
It's just ambiguity of the language, right? Your language is not 100% precise, so that there could be multiple different meanings.
Yep.
Right? So here's a perfect example from Netrunner, right? Oh, let me find this card. You talk about something. There was a new card they had to fix.
So I would say I back up, and it's more of a design problem. What makes a confusing or debatable rule is very simple. It's anytime a game designer assumes things about the players of the game without actually writing them down or encoding them directly into the mechanics of the game itself. So, like, imagine if I designed a trick-taking game, right? And I wrote my rules, and I play-tested it, it was cool, and I released it, and at no point did I explain what a trick was. Because I just assumed that everyone would know what a trick-taking game is. It's that kind of situation. Game designers, especially tabletop game designers, especially indie tabletop game designers, will very often make up rules to games and assume that the people playing them have the same basic level of game knowledge that they and all their friends do. And it's exacerbated by the fact that most indie tabletop games are play-tested by other indie tabletop game designers.
All right, so here's a perfect example, right? So there's a relatively new Netrunner card, and when we first saw it, everyone was like, what the hell? We don't know how to use this card. It doesn't make any sense. It says a bunch of stuff, but then it says use this ability only after a successful run on HQ. So if I make a successful run in HQ with the very first action I take in the whole game, does that mean I can now use this ability anytime for the rest of the game? Does it mean I can only use it?
Oh, yeah, it is after. That's like Gremlins. Feed them after midnight. Midnight?
Yeah, does it mean I can only use it immediately after? Like, I've made the successful run. Now I can use it right now, or I can't use it? Or does it mean, like, what time after? After could be immediately after or out to infinity. It's not specific enough. It's ambiguous. So they changed it. There's a fact that came out like yesterday that said, we're changing the wording on this card. It now says
Immediately after?
until end of turn. So you have to-
Until
so
end of
you
turn
make
is a classic tabletop card game design
So you
escape
make
from
it,
that.
You get your successful HQ run, and then between that time and the end of the turn, you can use this ability. Once the end of the turn hits, you can no longer use the ability. And then next turn, maybe you could make a successful run in HQ to reactivate the
Pretty
ability
much
again.
any games
And
that
now it is no longer ambiguous. It is clear.
pretty much any games that have action point systems of any kind or like actions you can take tend to have until end of turn effects.
Right, but the point is, you
But
can
even
see-
then there, look,
you
the
can see
designer-
the difference between language that is not specific enough and language that is specific enough, right?
Yep.
You covered all possible cases so that there are no game states that do not match the rules, right? And no one has to ask any questions. All the players can look at it and go, aha, I know exactly what this card means, but you don't have to ask about it.
Yep, but even in that
'Cause up
case,
until yesterday, everyone was like, where's the fuck this card? I don't know.
the person who wrote that rule made an implicit assumption that, of course, it's only this turn. Why would anyone? You shouldn't be able to. How could you possibly use it another turn? They assumed all that.
There was a big update that fixed the words on a lot of cards, even cards we knew what they meant but had bad words.
Yup.
The new person who's in charge is much better than the previous person.
I got to admit, in the modern era, with any moderately complex card game and up, I would never release it physically for these reasons.
But even like
Because the amount of design,
even Hearthstone, people keep pointing out like cards with inconsistent words,
and they don't
on
fix them.
They refuse to fix them for like various reasons. Like if I'm making a card game, I kind of want to make a card game that digitally just to show that I can do it better than all, even though I know it won't be successful. Just to prove that I can do it better.
Well, you
than
have
all the people
Toronto.
who do
And
it.
you set it up. Anyone who can run tournaments for your game has a phone number they can call 24/7 to be like, hey, we need a rules answer right now.
Right, but I mean, I just want to run a digital card game to prove that I can do it by myself even better than these giant-ass companies. I won't have a fancy user interface. I won't have big infrastructure.
I wonder how
But, like,
consistent.
all my game, who knows if my game will be any good, but at least I will, I'll be constantly modifying the game all the time to make sure it's fresh. Won't have any rules ambiguities. All those things I'll get right.
I wonder how consistent Billy and the Snake Man is.
Probably garbage. I don't know.
And the follow-up question, what is the best rules argument you've ever had? It's actually, I can imagine a
We
bunch of
usually
them.
don't have rules arguments, right? It's like we just sort of go, "What's the rule?" I don't know. Let's look. If we can't agree,
Well, we
we
immediately.
look it up, and if we can't find an answer online, it's like, well, fuck, we don't know. Fuck this game.
Yep, if there's official errata, we follow it. If there isn't, then unless
We throw the game in the garbage.
we either unanimously agree that we will interpret the rule as X forevermore, or we literally stop playing the game and never play it
Right.
again.
It's like Hellas is like the one we keep remembering a lot because like it was like Hellas was such a promising game. You had little Greek
it
figures.
felt so
It was a
good.
2-player game in a tiny box. It had cards and little figures and a map, and they were all Greek dudes. And they were
Yep.
fighting, and like that in that's a lot of good stuff for a 2-player game. But this one card is like the most powerful card in the game, very important, and the rules for it were totally ambiguous. And we couldn't get an answer.
And the worst part was, we thought, well, let's try to play, and that situation came up literally every game we tried to play.
Because every time you tried to use that card, because if you had that card, it was so strong, you wanted to use it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay.
I feel like the biggest rules arguments
play this
we've
game.
ever actually had were in those early days of playing D&D where something hinky would happen and we'd all be fighting about how that was supposed to work out, or the big, serious games of Illuminati we used to play. Because Illuminati has a lot of... The rules are not ambiguous, but they are complex and they don't map to other kinds of games that people like us often play. So unless everyone reads the rule book, like within a few weeks of playing the game...
thing is, I definitely remember arguing playing Illuminati. There's no such game as Illuminati without arguing.
the arguments are always
But
around the
arguments-
timing.
Right, but no, the arguments I remember were not about rules. They're always about like, listen, you guys need to attack Rim. Next turn. What the fuck is wrong with you? Not arguments like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that.
No, I remember a lot of arguments around privileged attacks and when and how they could be stopped. And I remember a lot of argument about that.
Privileged attack, no one can assist. He's privileged.
I also remember having a very long argument about how to score farmers in Carcassonne, but that was a long time ago when I brought Carcassonne to a gaming event in upstate New York, and I didn't bring the rules with me because I know that game, and people disagreed as to how to score farmers, and that was when I learned that there are actually 3 different official sets of rules for how to score farmers in base Carcassonne.
I think you also, if you're playing games with people who are arguing about rules, like they insist that the rule is something, X,
Either they're wrong or you're wrong.
right? It's not like an opinion matter. This is a factual matter you can look up, and if there's no answer on the internet, and someone is still arguing and insisting that they're right, and refuse, it's like, just don't play games with that person and don't play that game.
Yep. Well, case in point, look at Board Game Geek. Whenever there's a rules question and there's no official answer, one of the first responses in that thread will be someone just giving an authoritative answer. Then you click on their profile, and it's just Joey Jojo Shabadoo from, like, Boise, who doesn't know shit about games.
Yeah, it's like, if it's not an official answer, it's not an official answer.
So, apparently there's some cheating in a speed run.
Right. So generally, I think of this. I only really pay a lot of attention to the speedrunning community for AGDQ, SGDQ.
Yep.
Right? Because I'm not super into it. Right? You're never gonna catch me investing time in my life into being good at it.
No.
Right? But I like it. I respect it. I enjoy it. But it's not high on my hobby list. It's down there. Right? 2 times.
I mean, I thought about
2 times a year. That's enough. That's way more speed. That's like, I'm a pretty big fan of speedrunning if I'm looking at it twice a year. Right?
at RIT. I remember, like, I found out about speedruns, like that they were a wider community than I thought, and I thought, you know what? I'm real good at Bionic Commando. I wonder if I could. And then I watched a world record run, and then I played it and timed myself, and I was like, okay, could I shave like 15 minutes? And nope, no, there's no way.
I generally think of the speedrunning community as sort of like, noble and good and full of good, nice people.
It's like honestly,
there's been a few shitheads even at SGDQ, AGDQ, but they just get their asses kicked out right away.
I think of it like WWE in professional wrestling. They are professionals doing performances.
Right, and it generally feels like a pretty good community as far as communities on the internet go. It's not one of the bad ones. It's definitely far from one of the worst ones, right? So you tend not to imagine there'd be too much cheating, especially since, how much, people are paying attention, right? They take these records pretty seriously.
Well, I mean, if the speedrunning community is doing a frame-by-frame tool-assisted run, I imagine they could figure out if you cheated on some frames.
Right, so I never imagined, why would you cheat? Because someone could get you on it so easily that, like, when they said, all right, do it in front of me. Like, oh, you got the world record in that. All right, well, you're streaming live. I've seen people do things like they're streaming, right? And, like, to prove that your stream is not, like, some pre-recorded trick, people in the chat will be like, put a shoe on your head, shoe on the head, and, like, you have to put a shoe on your head when they chat. And and that way you can prove.
They'll have, like, a camera on their hands. They'll show, like,
right,
the whole one continuous shot.
If someone had a pre-recorded thing that they put on Twitch or YouTube to make it seem like they were streaming live, then, when you said, put a shoe on your head, prove that you're not, this isn't pre-recorded, the person who's pre-recorded on the screen wouldn't put a shoe on.
I watched one guy who actually had one of his webcams was pointed over his shoulder so you could see the screen that he was streaming from another angle that also had him in it.
Yep.
To see that they were all synced up.
Yeah, and it's like, you imagine it's really hard to cheat, but no, apparently people would just, like, editing videos together, like cutting it, like getting a really good run up to a certain frame, and then do another run that's really good after that frame. And then,
See, now that's actually clever because if someone says, show me, you're good enough at the game to make a plausible attempt.
Yep.
And world record runs are rare. Like, when it happens in AGDQ, it's kind of amazing.
Right. But basically, various people have cheated in this way by editing videos together, right at that one exact frame line to make it look perfect. And so they got caught. Some of the people. It's definitely a thing that happens.
This article is about a famous speedrun. I think I've seen this one.
Right. So I think the deal was...
Have I liked it?
As one guy did it, and another guy beat him by a little bit, so he went and cheated to, like, sort of come back and beat that guy by a whole bunch because he was upset that he lost his deal. But,
You know what that is? That's going for the full web.
Yeah, but he, at least, to hand it to him, he was just like, all right, guys, you got me. I definitely cheated. And, he's like, just ban me. So they banned him.
So I thought about as a kid.
But at least it wasn't like, I didn't cheat, right? That was the right response. If you do a bad thing, well, that's bad. Don't do that. But, at least if you come out and say, all right, I did the bad thing, just give me the punishment, you receive the punishment.
Well, you know what? Like I've
That's
said,
that's the way it's supposed to happen, right?
I've given this advice to people many times in
you
your
can
life.
still, at least, he got you're going to get the punishment either way, right? If you would have gone rabble, he would have still gotten banned. At least this way, he's still like a respectable person, right?
When
It's like
confronted with something
you're not
that-
like, oh, this guy's some piece of shit.
If you're confronted with something where you are wrong, there are literally only 3 possible responses, and all responses that you take are actually just a flavor of one of these 3. One is stonewall, literally never respond to the accusations ever. 2 is deny and double down, and 3 is walk it back / admit it.
Yep.
Those are the only 3 things you can do.
Right. I think, something I say a lot is that, people in the world have problems, and problems need solutions. But then there are people who are not facing problems, they're facing consequences. You're facing a consequence, right? So it's like, problem, I have no money. Solution, rob a bank. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Right. Problem, I'm in jail because I robbed a bank. Solution, well, stay in jail till you're out. Don't, right? Try to
Double down, break out of jail.
Yeah, no, don't do that, right? It's like, no, it's tough shit already. When you're facing consequences of your own actions, right? You face them. There's no solution to like making the consequences go away. You're beyond that point, right? You've already committed the crime. Now you're paying for it. Deal with it.
So as a kid in the VHS era, like NES era, like Nintendo Power and other people would run like contests sometimes where you had to submit a VHS tape of like a feat in a game or like a picture of your TV and the console and everything showing that like you got a high score or something.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to enter many of those contests as a kid by taking screenshots from issues of Nintendo Power with an actual camera and a magnifying device and send them in because I knew the way these tournaments or these things actually worked was everyone who submitted who had a screenshot that was plausible was basically put into a raffle. So I would fake the screenshots to get into the raffle because I figured I wouldn't get looked at too closely, and everything was so low resolution and low fidelity back then. I figured I'd get away with it, but
aren't those things usually like nothing required to enter? You can just send a postcard or a self-addressed stamp.
Sometimes, yeah.
Without even.
But I want to point out I was a kid with a kid brain, so I remember one was like Nintendo Power was like, give us a picture of you defeating Warmech. I think it was either Warmech or Garland. I think it was Warmech with 4 white mages.
Good luck with that.
But there was a screenshot of someone doing it in that Nintendo Power, so I took a picture of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even though the names would be the same as the Nintendo Power, because I never really thought about what the consequences would be if I was caught, which probably would have been nothing because I was a
Jail.
kid. Yeah.
Faking Final Fantasy 1 screenshots, jail.
So in
Yeah.
one other news related to
50
cheating,
lashes.
Pokemon Go. I don't think that many people I know play it anymore. And
I know one person who still plays this game.
Yep. I mean, it was fun while it lasted. It was like a month where it was really
played
fun.
It not at all, and I'm very glad with my decision.
I'm glad
to
I
not
played
play
it.
all.
I'm glad I played it when I did because it was basically I played an AR version of Pokemon Snap for like a month and then I just uninstalled it
I'm
because
just gonna go play Pokemon Snap.
I'm waiting for actually you want a good
Pokemon
use of
Switch Snap.
you want a good use of VR would be Pokemon Snap with
yeah.
VR. That's like the perfect game for the current level of VR
I actually
technology.
think what would be really much better than that would be AR, where right now, right, the Pokemon.
You mean Pokemon Go?
No. So you know how in Pokemon Go you go on your phone and there's the picture of the Pokemon in there, right?
Composited on the real world.
No, what if you had a real fucking camera and when you look through it, right, there'd be Pokemons.
Nah.
Just instead of a phone camera.
Except for most people, a phone camera is a real camera. They
I'm
don't
just
know what a real
I'm
camera
just saying,
is.
like, imagine if you walk around the woods with a real camera and like suddenly there's like a real Pokemon out there, like.
But with the motion controls, the Switch can make one fucking Pokemon game.
Or if you were in some sort of like AR room and they handed you basically a controller that was basically the shape.
Well,
of
AR room, that's installation VR.
right, but the controller was basically physically the shape of like a DSLR. Or was a DSLR, or what? You know what I'm saying, right? You get the idea.
But anyway, Pokemon Go is continuing to struggle with the problem.
You could actually, in Pokemon Snap, the actual N64 game, you didn't walk around freely.
No, you're on rails.
You were on rails in like an amusement park ride. You could just make that in one room, right, where you sit in a little cart and the screens on all the walls, and they give you a camera.
That is why I'm saying it's such a good use case for current level VR tech. You sit in
Or
your chair
they
with an
can put
Oculus
it-
on.
You can put it. You don't need that. You can put at an amusement park. You can have them literally on rails. You ride around, and there's Pokemon, and you take pictures of them with your real fucking camera.
That would basically be the Men in Black ride at Disney.
Can you bring your camera on and take pictures of them?
Well, no, they give you a gun when you're sitting there. So
Oh.
you,
Okay.
you never rode that?
I've ridden like Spider-Man, but they don't give you a gun or anything. You just sit in the Spider-Man.
The Men in Black
car.
ride is basically you sit in a car with your family and everyone gets guns and you got to shoot aliens while you're going through the ride and you'll pass by other cars of families and if you shoot them it spins around and they lose points
Oh.
and you actually get a score.
We should do that.
Yeah, Emily and I did it when we were down there last year.
That sounds like a good ride.
It's okay. It was pretty good.
Better than, like Back to the Future or whatever, where you just sit in the car, it doesn't even move.
Yeah, but the Back to the Future felt pretty good back then.
Back then.
I mean, actually, like the modern equivalent of that, the Simpsons ride. Holy shit,
I
is
know,
that a
I'm
good
saying,
ride?
That Spider-Man one that's even old by now. I went on in like 2000.
If you ever get a chance to go to
Now we
Universal,
go,
the Simpsons ride is impressive. Like, it's on the edge of making you nauseous. Like, it's really pushing the limits of that level of
Isn't
technology.
there like a Transformers one where the Spider-Man one used to be? That
I
should be
think
really
so.
fun? I'm not sure.
I remember I rode the old Star Wars one.
I did that too. They're also upgrading that shit
Yeah.
big time.
But anyway, Pokemon Go has always had this problem where people who play the game, quote unquote, seriously, really quickly realize that it's just a grind. And then
Don't
a lot of
say.
So a lot of them cheat. You know, I'm making finger quotes here because they cheat by using apps to give them more information in the game or just make the game like easier so they don't have to literally grind it all out. And Niantic, the company has been trying to catch those people
Why? What do you give a shit?
because the people who don't cheat get super fucking pissed
How do they
when
even know?
because they see people talking about it on the internet.
Okay.
And it feels unfair because they worked so hard and that other person just like spoofed GPS and got all the Pokemon around the world.
Maybe you should just make your grind less stupid.
Or maybe those people shouldn't care. But anyway, what Niantic is doing now is basically hell banning. So if they flag an account as having done anything that violates their TOS, which is basically almost anything, then they just won't show you like rare Pokemon anymore. You'll just never see them again in the game.
Just make a new account.
Yeah, and start over. And then get shadow banned again.
Hmm.
So this war
Steal someone else's account.
I'm telling you, the way to play Pokemon Go now is to legit be Team Rocket. Go to Pokemon Go meetups and parks at night and literally steal people's cell phones.
Mm.
Because that's Team Rocket, right? They steal Pokemon. You can literally mug a kid and steal his Pokemon in the real world thanks to Pokemon Go.
You can just steal someone's DS too.
Yeah, but kids didn't wander around holding their DSs out like this, like walking around a park at 3 a.m. like they do with Pokemon Go.
I don't think anyone's doing that with Pokemon Go anymore.
I feel like that community has shrunk substantially, and I feel like the people who continue to play are crazy and are going to double down on the game forever.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was a good front bit. The Dorian Brocht
Yeah, right.
wood joining.
We're joining.
But anyway, things of the day. So Scott insisted this was the thing of the day in the past. I could not find any reference to it.
This is old. I've seen it before.
It's 1 year old.
Yeah.
It's about the year. It's almost a little past the 1 year anniversary of this video.
I've seen it before.
It's a gamer grognard looking dude telling you why Hero Quest is so great.
Hero Quest is not so great.
That is the point of this video. The format is the best thing about Hero Quest is something. And he'll talk about that for a while. And then he'll just say, the best thing about Hero Quest is something. And I can actually imagine a kind of person who would watch this video, not realize that it's making fun of them and Hero Quest, and agree with it.
I think there was a thread on Reddit for this video, and I'm pretty sure most of the people in that thread were totally like Hero Quest.
Yeah, I think the moment you have to realize he's taking the piss is the best thing about Hero Quest is rolling for movement. Because that is not the best part about Hero Quest. Well, actually, it is because
that is the number one thing that makes Hero Quest bad.
that is the number one thing that made Hero Quest great when we ruined it, when we played it once as adults and agreed that I would literally roll and do nothing until I rolled a 6, and then we would play our turns.
And this guy's a million views, so hey.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny video. 32,000 likes, 339 dislikes, not too shabby. He's got more views than my entire YouTube channel on this video.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
Oh, so we've talked about Japanese wood joining before because it's way ridiculously awesome. And there's like this. We talked about this Twitter account that had like animated gifs of wood joining joins.
That Twitter account is so good.
Right. This is a guy who does wood joining as a hobby, and he's got a YouTube channel, and the whole YouTube channel is videos of actually doing wood joining and not just gifs of specific joints. And the videos in particular are like ultra relaxing, like the way they're.
Well, he
produced.
says on the channel, he even says, this is not a how-to video. Just sit back and join me on my venture to find beautiful joinery.
Yeah, so
This could replace Bob Ross for you if you've already watched the entire Bob Ross archive.
if you want to do some joining, don't watch this because he doesn't teach you how to do it. You're just watching a guy doing it, and it's.
I do not want to do joining because I anticipate how complex it is, and I had trouble like painting shitty miniatures as a kid.
I mean, this is what this is just on a list of all the zillions of awesome nerdy hobbies that I totally want to do, but wouldn't invest enough time into to actually do. Like it's like you see stuff like RC cars and paintball.
This is a hobby I would take up if I was independently wealthy and bored.
Skydiving.
Like I would have ruined my house.
But even then, this would not be rank high enough amongst all those other hobbies, and I probably wouldn't do it.
No, I would do it at the same level that Jet Black did bonsai in Cowboy Bebop.
Right. It was actually we interviewed a guy today where skydiving is like his #1 hobby.
Whoa.
He skydived like without no tandem or anything.
Oh, that means
he
he
did
like.
it, he did like 7 or 8 times a year. He goes skydiving. So
You want to go skydiving?
yeah, but not 7 or 8 times a year.
No.
One time is enough.
We can go bungee jumping instead.
That's even easier.
Yeah, you don't have to know anything. There's literally no skill you can learn to make bungee jumping more
You
exciting.
jump.
Yep.
You go,
Or you
"Ah!"
get pushed if you won't jump.
Or they don't push you and you just go back down the stairs.
Yep,
Like
in
a
shame.
baby.
In the meta moment, the book club book is Frank Herbert's Dune. I beat Ganon. So maybe I'll read the book now.
I haven't played a Zelda. I'm going to go back to it after some other games. And so
I got a lot to say about Zelda now that I've played the whole thing. I mean, I didn't 100% it, and I'm never going to.
I don't think I will either.
Anthony 100%ed it.
Every Korok seed?
Yeah.
What is it? What,
A bunch of so yeah, I learned spoilers as to what happens. It's actually kind of great, and I will not spoil. Do not spoil for yourself the deal of the Korok seeds, because if you get all of them, you learn something about the world of Zelda.
Oh, really?
You legit learn a thing. This is canon. The thing you learn.
I didn't think you got anything for getting all the Korok seeds. I thought it was just, all right, Korok seeds.
You learn something very specific about the canonical world of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, about Koroks. You learn a thing. There's a revelation that
I'll
happens.
just look it up.
I'm saying it's almost better if you never look it up. But
I'm not getting 900 Korok seeds in my...
I got 107. I just didn't care
I
anymore.
don't know how many I have. It's enough.
And I got
don't
like...
need more slots.
I think I did 87 shrines, I want to say.
I don't know how many shrines I did.
Though the last shrine I did before I just said fuck it and killed Ganon was Eventide Island. That was a
Yeah,
pleasant surprise.
I told you to go to Eventide Island.
I see it over there and I'm like, huh, I bet there's stuff.
No,
and
I
then,
told you to go to it like 10 times.
Yeah, no, I saw it a bunch of times and you were like, you should go over there. And I was like, okay, so I finally went over there and stuff happens over there.
Eventide Island was...
That was unexpected, and the Hinox was the cream on that cake. Because I was like, okay, I can deal with the thing that is happening to me. And then I saw the Hinox, and I'm like, ah, fuck. Ah, fuck.
I got a Traveler's Sword, and then it breaks. I'm like, ah.
That was some good stuff. But Ganon goes down like a chump. I highly recommend, if you're at all burning out, like if you at any point feel the slightest hint of boredom with Breath of the Wild, just go kill Ganon and then put the game aside and pick it back up after a break. Because Ganon's way, way easy.
I haven't even gone to Goron Land at all.
I killed Ganon pretty much just with ancient arrows for my 5x line elbow.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a 5x line elbow.
I had
And
like
ancient arrows, which are really strong.
I have like 80 ancient arrows because I just bought them all because why not?
I made ancient armor instead of ancient
I did not get
arrows.
the ancient armor because who cares?
I
Eh.
want to be able to go up to ancients and be like, can't touch me, bruh.
Yeah, I'm so strong. I just go up to ancients anyway. You know what I wear? I wear the Zora suit or the climbing suit all the time, and I only wear the snow quill when I'm in like Hebra.
Anyway.
Anyway, it's good stuff. Otherwise, Scott's YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, the Utena show's starting up again soon because just finally got time to work on that stuff. And I will link to it in this episode. You should definitely check out because on my YouTube channel, I am taking literally every tabletop review we have ever done. I'm taking just the review itself out of the longer Geek Nights episodes and putting them on YouTube as like just reviews of the thing. So if you have joined Geek Nights sometime later than 12 years ago and you want to see our review of like some old tabletop game and you don't want to listen to an hour-long bad episode of Geek Nights from like 9 years ago, this is your source for just the reviews. All right.
Tomorrow it gonna rain.
Yep.
No.
The forecast before said rain every day, so I didn't bike to work today, and it didn't rain. It was like perfect. I should have biked to work. It was. This is perfect. It was plenty warm. It was comfy. I should have biked to work, but I didn't because I'm stupid. Kids don't know what they want. That's why I got kids, because you're stupid. So Tumbleseed, we were at PAX Prime, PAX West, while last year it was a year ago, right? It wasn't the most recent one.
I think it was 2 PAX Wests ago, maybe? It was 1 or 2 PAX Wests ago.
Because if you haven't been to PAX West in a while, like it has expanded and sprawled across Seattle into places you would have never thought.
Pretty sure we talked about it on the podcast where we talked about that PAX West. But anyway, there's a Cards Against Humanity area that we had ignored the year before, and we went into it this time.
And it was way big.
It was way bigger than I thought, and it had a bunch of rooms, and not all of it was Cards Against Humanity. There were lots of demos of indie tabletop and video games in there, in addition to the Cards Against Humanity store, where I think they had like 10 bajillion copies of Secret Hitler for sale.
Yep.
But anyway, one of the things we saw in there that really, was very, very memorable was the demo of the not released yet game called Tumbleseed. And we saw it, and we said, holy shit, that game is ice cold beer, but a video game, but it looks cute. Oh my God. That is a game for us.
I mean, we walk in the room and we're looking at it. We don't say anything. And we just look at each other and Scott's like, ice cold beer. And I'm like, it's ice cold beer.
So if you don't know, Ice Cold Beer is a game that we discovered the first time we ever went to MagFest. It was a big deal at that MagFest. They still have it at MagFest, but it doesn't seem to be a big deal there anymore. And what that game is an arcade machine. And the arcade machine has a vertical piece of wood with a bunch of holes in it. So it's like you're looking straight on at a piece of Swiss cheese.
Yep.
And there's a metal ball, smaller than a pinball, right? Just a small bearing. And it's on a metal bar. So it can roll to the left or to the right.
And the metal bar is it's articulated like I was about to say an antenna on a car, but no car antenna looks like that anymore.
You have 2 joysticks. One joystick will raise the left side of the metal bar up and down, and the other joystick will raise the right side of the bar up and down. So if you move both sticks in unison up, you will lift the ball that is resting on this bar straight up. And if you bring both sticks down, it'll go straight down. And if you put the right stick down, the ball will roll to the right. And if you put the left stick down, the ball will roll to the left. And you want to get the ball from the bottom to the top without falling through any of the holes in the Swiss cheese, and it's hard as balls.
Yeah, everyone is that first year we saw this at MagFest, when we started going to MagFest, all of us were like, that game looks cool. And one by one on our own, we all went over there and played it and discovered that it is as hard as you think it's going to be. It is so much harder than that it is beyond description.
Now, of course, there are people who are masters at this and do it.
I watched a dude at MagFest just go all the way to the top first try, I guess he memorized it.
Yeah, it's such precision in the hands.
So I just learned some stuff looking at the Wikipedia. It's a Taito game, but it was released in 1983. Mm-hmm. It was re-released in 2003 by a different company with a ticket dispenser and LEDs and all this new biz, but it's otherwise the exact same game.
Yeah, why not?
The only other time it's ever been re-released was in 1984 when Taito released an identical game, but they called it Zeke's Peak.
I've seen that, yeah.
But it doesn't have beer on it. Do you know who Zeke is?
No.
He's the main character in another Taito game, Zookeeper.
Oh,
yeah.
I love me some Zookeeper.
Zookeeper's some hot shit.
But anyway, yeah, the other cool thing about this, if you have one of these arcade machines, you can just get a piece of wood and drill your own holes in it and make your own board and sort of swap them out. I don't think there's any official thing for that, but There's no reason you couldn't. It's just a piece of wood with holes in it.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, this game was like I guess you'd see it mostly in bars and like non-traditional arcades. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely a thing to eat your quarters, right? Because like you go to it, you see how it works. It's kind of fun. It's got a physical ball rolling around in there. You really want to beat it, and as you keep putting quarters in, you get better and better and better with more practice.
and it has a performative aspect where other people see you doing it and get excited.
Especially if you're getting close, right? But
And you watching other people, if you don't play it, it kind of draws you into wanting to play it. Same like DDR would do the same
It
thing.
costs you a lot of money to practice enough to be able to be good at it, right?
This I never even conceived of. Hey, someone should remake this kind of game.
No. So we saw this, and someone made a video game version of it. And not only that, but it was really cute. Your little seed tumbling around on a vine that's basically the metal bar. And, suddenly there's a whole bunch of interactive stuff going on because it's not just a piece of wood. It's a video game.
And then to go one step further, the next piece of information we learned about this game later was that not only is it those mechanics, but it's a roguelike.
What the fuck?
Roguelike X Ice Cold Beer. That's the kind of crazy idea we come up with randomly in a panel, and people are like, wow, that's a crazy idea, and
Yeah.
someone just did it.
So the game finally came out. I subscribed to like the email me when the game is out thing after
Yep.
seeing it at PAX, and it came out. And because of the timing when it came out, it was originally going to be on like Wii U, Steam, whatever. And I would still probably recommend the Steam version, except I got Nintendo Switch, and they just put it out on Switch.
Yeah.
So I paid, $15 or whatever it is. And why did I do that instead of getting the Steam one or waiting for the Steam one to be cheap?
Because the Switch is literally the perfect medium for this kind of
'Cause
game.
It's so portable.
Well, portable, but also if you play the Switch like handheld, the two controls are on the sides of the screen just like
Yep.
the bar is. Like it feels right.
Also, the Switch Pro controller is so good. It's not the Xbox controller that I'd be using if I played on the PC. Not as good. So
Yeah, it wouldn't feel. Plus, honestly, the fancy rumble in the Switch really
Yeah.
works with this game.
The Switch has the most advanced like rumbling
HD
of
rumble.
of any controller that exists. So
It feels
this
like
game
there's
takes-
a physical ball bearing rolling
it takes
between your
physical-
hands.
Yeah, they take the maximum advantage of that HD rumbling. You can actually feel that ball, right? Just like even more so than you could feel it if you're playing the real ice cold beer.
So if you couldn't guess, this game is hard as balls.
Right, I didn't
Holy
realize that.
shit.
I thought it was gonna be like, it looks so cute, right? Don't be deceived if you're looking.
But
for
it's
like,
based on ice cold beer. That's like saying a game that's based on Dark Souls and assuming, oh, it's cute. It'll probably
No,
be easy.
Don't be fooled. This game is not for people who like cute seeds and bugs and things. That if you like what it looks like, that is not enough reason to pay. Don't just keep your money, right? You only buy this if you're the kind of person who likes Super Hexagon or something.
Yeah, if you like insanely difficult dexterity games.
Yeah, that's when you should buy this game. So like I've gotten to the point where I can beat level 1 pretty reliably, but level 2, if I beat level 1 really strongly, then I can do level 2, and then if I get to level 3, it's just like, oh, fuck you, instant death, right? So here's how the game works. Not only is it the Swiss cheese, right, but there's also enemies that come around.
Yep.
A lot of the enemies are just basically moving holes. You can just dodge them. Not a big deal.
But some of them have active, like if they see you, they hit you.
Some of them will chase you the fuck down, which means you must kill them, right? You have no
Or
choice.
move real fast.
Good luck with that. You have hearts. So you start with 3 hearts. You can get more with difficulty. And if you get hit without like dying, then you lose hearts. If you fall in the holes in the Swiss cheese board,
Not only do you lose hearts,
you don't actually just lose a heart. You fall down, and the farther you fall, the more hearts you lose. So if you fall from a great height, you lose a whole lot of hearts and die instantly. So yeah, it sucks. So you also have crystals. You start the game with 1 fucking crystal. And you can get more crystals by picking them up off the ground.
killing enemies sometimes will drop
Killing
them.
enemies, well, always pretty much, but you get crystals, and then there's plots on the ground that are diamond shaped.
Now this is what's clever. They basically, I imagine the developers of the game said, we're gonna make an ice cold beer roguelike. I assume they saw ice cold beer.
Right. So you
But they explored it as much as possible, so they don't just have holes to kill you, they have plots to attract you.
Right. So you want to go on these plots, and what happens is you can switch which seed you are, and you start with 4 seeds, and you can get more or cash them in and get different seeds. But each seed is an ability, sort of like Kirby. And when you roll over a plot based on what seed you have selected, and you could change your seeds anytime from the ones that you have, that is what will happen when you roll over the plot. So the flag seed is the one you sort of start as, and what that does is for absolutely free, when you roll over a plot, it puts a flag there.
Checkpoint.
And if you die by falling in a hole, you will come out at that checkpoint where you put that flag. So
I try to
usually-
avoid using that because I'm not a baby.
Yeah, you don't want to use it, but like if you're in level 2 or 3 and you've made it quite a distance, you put down a flag, right?
Yup.
So
Well, think of it like, in like games where like a Shovel Knight, where you could destroy the checkpoint to get some loot,
Yeah.
or use the checkpoint.
But anyway, the next one is the crystal seed. The crystal seed you want to sort of avoid using because it sucks, but sometimes you have to use it. And the
It's
way-
pro mode, I think of.
Yeah, the way the crystal one works is when you hit one plot, nothing happens. When you hit the second plot, nothing happens. But when you hit the third plot with the crystal seed, 2 crystals come out. So you pretty much only use this when you're desperate for crystals, because once the game starts going and you're like getting halfway through level 1, you should have a ton of crystals and not really need any more, right? So usually I cash in that crystal seed and get a different seed. The third seed is the spike thorn seed. And what this does is you roll over a plot, you lose a crystal, and and you get a thorn that now like spins around you, right? And you can make a whole big shield out of thorns. And when you bump into bad guys, you can kill them with your thorns. And if a bad guy shoots guns at you and they hit you, if they hit a thorn, you just lose the thorn, you don't get hit. If you can, so like these are your weapons and also your shields.
Yep.
That are the basic ones, right? Melee weapon.
And then there's a bunch more that are way increasingly crazy and complex.
Well, there's the non-complex one is the heart.
Oh, yeah.
If you get the heart seed, you go it costs you a crystal to go to a plot with a heart. But once you've done 4 plots with 4 crystals, you actually increase your life by 1 heart total.
Oh, Cold Guy confirmed that the designers of this game were Ice Cold Beer pro players.
Okay.
So,
That's why they think it's easy.
yeah.
Anyway, so you try to avoid using the crystal seed. I use the heart seed a lot, but I guess if you're really good, you don't need to.
Apparently
use
they were in an Ice Cold Beer league.
Yeah, you don't need to use the heart seed either if you're really good, right? So, but the thing that makes this game even harder than like it's a freaking ice cold beer, there's a million holes in the board, the bad guys are coming at you like crazy, is that if you get hit when you lose a heart, you lose all your thorns.
Yep.
All of them. So like I've been in situations where I get like a fuck ton of thorns and a bad guy hits me and I just lose them all. And now the real resource in this game is not the crystals, it is the plots.
Yep.
I fall backwards, I have to climb back up to where
You've
I
already
was.
used all those plots.
All those plots are used. There's no more plots. And I'm running out of hearts, and fuck me. I'm basically done. Even though it's like it's not actually a one-shot kill, but it might as well be. Just reset the
Now,
game.
it does some nice stuff. Like, if you fall in a hole, it turns that hole into a plot,
Big deal.
so you won't die on that
One
hole
measly
again.
fucking plot.
It's subtle, but it's there.
Yeah, whatever.
It's there.
Whatever.
That's how you solve some of the puzzles in the puzzle
Right,
rooms.
the other thing is you can get more seeds with more abilities, right? But the problem is the vast majority of these extra abilities you can get are just going to fuck you over. There's one that's like, okay, projectiles are now bigger. Also, the bad guys' projectiles are now bigger. There's one that you think could be like the best possible one is the magnet power. It sucks crystals into you if they're lying on the ground.
Because sometimes the crystal will be like on the edge of a pit.
Right, so you don't have to roll over there and get it. So now you can just sort of casually go safely up the board and get a lot of crystals without having to put in a lot of effort, and that's super good. But you know what? There's a few crystal-shaped bad guys that you'll suck them in too.
Motherfucker.
And they're all over the place.
Motherfucker.
They're all over the place. There's like almost no ability. There's an ability that's like, oh, you get a friend who bounces around the screen dealing damage. Yeah, that guy's not your friend. He does bounce around the screen dealing damage to bad guys, but also to you. Good luck.
So, I mean, this game is great. Qualified with, you either have to be really into dexterity games, really into ice cold beer specifically. That's it. Like, that's who this game is for.
I can definitely say, like, I've been playing this game, and despite it being so hard and annoying, like, I haven't yet given up on it. Like, I'm still playing it, like, once a day or twice a day or whatever. Like, and there's a daily thing where, like, everyone gets the same board, because it's procedurally generated. It's a roguelike, right?
Yep.
It's different every time you play.
Like, Necrodancer has that too, the daily challenge.
Yeah, I haven't reached the top yet, but there's a daily challenge, and even on the Switch, it connects to the internet and downloads the daily challenge properly. So that's a pretty cool thing you can do.
But I would say that if you are an enthusiast of games, not just like a gamer who plays games, like you're interested in game design or you care more about like the theory of games or anything like that, you should get this game just because there's literally nothing else like it.
No, this is absolutely
This is in a genre.
100% unique game.
This is in a genre where there are literally only 2 entries. There is ice cold beer and there is this.
And roguelikes.
Yes.
But there's Rogue and Ice Cold Beer, but this is the combination of the two. And yeah, a lot of people are doing the combine 2 games thing lately, but no one's done the combine these 2 games,
Yup.
right? In this kind of way.
It's just kind of amazing that it came to pass. And it's clear, you know, that they clearly took a very simple concept and tried to add as much depth and complexity and interesting situations as they could while never straying from that core mechanic.
The only thing I would say is that, you know, when I look at how far I'm getting up the mountain before dying, I'm actually like kind of halfway or even more than halfway up. It just gets ridiculously hard. I think I would have liked it if they would have made the mountain taller and had more of a curve of difficulty. Like,
why? Now go back to Ice Cold Beer. Ice Cold Beer is easy, and then it just goes from impossible to more impossible.
right, no, this
Exponential curve of difficulty.
No, this goes from immediately hard and then impossible and then like even worse than Doom Nightmare mode impossible.
Yup.
It's just like I would have liked them to stretch out that curve a little more to be more linear and less exponential. So it's like start off ridiculously easy, get challenging, right? And then
I might have
get
been bored.
hard. And then, let me enjoy the game more before you brutally kill me. I'm not saying don't brutally kill me. I'm just saying give me like 1 or 2 more, climbs worth of space before, because like at the beginning of like level 2, it's like they send a snake and a guy after you who shoots at you constantly. And if you don't already have enough spikes or weapons to take them out, you're dead. And also, there's a million holes right there. Good luck dodging the holes and those guys. It's just like level 2 starts. Good luck, you're dead.
But at the same time, there's only so much you can do with this
and don't even
concept.
ask me about to start to level 3.
So I appreciate the fact that it escalates itself rapidly to be a more succinct experience, much like, I'm trying to think of a good example of other games that have done it. Like Jenga, babies play safe moves for a long time. Pros destabilize the tower as much as possible, as early as possible.
I just want to enjoy my $15 I spent more.
I'm playing it for the experience.
Yeah, the experience is going to be 1 minute long.
Yeah, I was trying to play it last night. It was just, I found I did better when I threw caution to the wind, kind of like in Mario games, like especially 2D Marios, like the older ones. The more you just went for it, the better you tended to do.
I tend to alternate between being careful and going for it, right? So,
Yep.
And what ends up happening, though,
Usually if I get hit, not in a hole, but like hit by an enemy, I'm just like, fuck it, go, 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 go.
Well, the situation that usually kills me is when there's too much going on, and like one bad guy comes, he's really dangerous, so I try to carefully take care of him. And like when not a lot is going on, it's a little safer, then I can sort of go for it. But when like multiple hazards all at once, it's like I'm forced to go for it, but I can't.
Scott, I can't even beat Ice Cold Beer. I played that game a lot, and there's no bugs in there unless there's, I guess, termites in the cabinet. There's literally just the holes. You can dig as long as you need.
I'm sad.
These 2 quotes, I never really looked at the site for the game much before, but I'm looking at these quotes here. So, Jerry Hawkins, a game about moving laterally in a world that hates you.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam Saltzman says, the Dark Souls of marble rolls.
Yeah, there is some sort of lore in this game. Like you can talk to, because it's an RPG roguelike, right? This character.
You like go into huts, like talk to the elder.
Yeah, you can talk to people and they say stuff. And there's like occasionally you'll enter like in the middle of the map. There'll be like this, you can go, it seems like an abandoned hut with a lab that got destroyed or something. And there's some sort of plot of mystic shit going on, but I'd have to be able to reach the top to know what's going on with that.
And I'm on the website. I never went to their website. Quote, originally inspired by the forgotten arcade classic Ice Cold Beer.
Yep.
Tumbleseed is made by 5 people in Chicago. Benedict, Greg, Joel, David, and Jenna, and a bunch of their friends, and published by IOWU.
Okay.
So, this game exists.
If you hate yourself.
If you hate yourself and you own a Nintendo Switch.
Or you can just play on Steam.
I'd get it on the Switch.
You can get it on PS4, or you can get it on, you can get it on anything.
Just, it's refreshing that a game like this was able to be made and came out, because like the lineage of this game is kind of insane when you think about it. All right. That was a good show. We out. Do the Patreon thing really quick while I'm still on the stream. Woo woo. Patreon. Your patron manager. And here we go. And the Patreon patrons for this episode of Geek Nights are Nicholas Brandau, Alan Joyce, Heidi McNichol, Amanda Duchette, and Thomas Hahn. MyStady.com, William Eisenrose, Jeremy Miner. Hey, Llama Llama, Red Pajama reads the story with who? With his mama. A genuine bona fide electrified 6-car monorail. Rebecca Dunn, This Terrible Secret of Space, 421 Creations. Want to talk about it? Shervin Von Horrell, Rare Laval, James David White, Rochelle Montanona, Superboy, I paid $5 to make Rim say Pickle, Sailor Vista, Matthew Smith, Don Schleich, Kachar Tavish, Joshua Joestar, Sean Yeager, Sam Corder, Clinton Walton, Ren from New Zealand, Ryan Perrin, USA, okay, Brian Cedrone, the space-time vector of an African-European swallow carrying kiwis, Redacted, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, Daniel Redmond, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn.